salute the flag. If I could ask Paul to lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mark Heights isn't here today. He's traveling the world, so you got the warm-up day.
Are you the trustees?
Well, I'm the trustee, and these gentlemen were on the subcommittee to help advise the trustees to the solar project.
Well, if anyone wants to step up, I don't know if you've had a chance. This is the proposal for the library solar array. It's really not an array, it's a single pole, but it will actually generate electricity and cut down the cost. I believe it's 23,000,
24/7.
Right, 24 and
24/7
it's in there,
something.
buried in a page.
Just under 25.
It's kind of a technical, it talks about roof and everything else, obviously, the
And
panels
the
are
roof,
not
it
going on the
isn't,
roof.
you know,
It's a single pole for education purposes.
They talked about that some of it was boilerplate language, and at that top part where they talk about the roof, I almost had them cross it out, but that would have delayed getting it to you guys to review, so it's like, it's moot, it's not going on the roof. So, we had come before the selectmen before and the selectmen gave me an approval that they agreed that we could take it from the, impact fees for the library. There's more than enough money in there for it. We didn't know if you had any questions. Well, I personally would like to make sure that we could get this signed as soon as possible, because in another week or so, I won't be coming to you to review anything to do with the library. So kind of wanted to finalize this project. Well, I'm not running again for trustee, so.
Well, I know we've gone full circle with this. This was brought up over a year ago. We were talking about it, and it was scaled down with the hope that eventually the town will do something at the landfill, and the library trustees were respectful of that. They didn't want to interfere in that process. This is kind of an educational purpose thing.
Yeah, you're right. That's, at this point, it's good that we're gonna cut down on some of the electricity, but it's also an educational tool for the community, so.
And there's no cost to the taxpayers because it's money coming out of impact fees. So I think it's a good opportunity to save some money in electricity, educate the community, anyone that has any questions. The other thing is, we talked about the education piece. Is there gonna be some sort of display there of like inside where people can read about solar energy or that type of thing?
There's software that comes with it that can be on a monitor, so you can see the output from the panels and those kind of things that go with it. So that's going to be available, and Rebecca is at a seminar, so she's not here, but I think it's also going to be something that people could actually access from home as well to see.
Yeah, you should be able to access from home, and it should be in real time.
Where's it going to be located?
By the, well, you guys can come up, it's sort of like near by the shed, I guess.
As you're driving in down Library Lane, it's before you make the left-hand turn to go to the library, sort of straight ahead of you, right near the garage that's on that next property.
Garage on the right of way, so just the left of the right of way.
Yep.
So everybody will see it coming in.
Correct.
Good thing.
Correct. We thought it was good. It was a good placement. It was good visibility, and that software that comes with it for for checking on what's going on is not only a diagnostic tool for the town and for the library, but it is part of the educational process. I believe that the library is planning on setting up a workstation inside the library with a monitor and so forth, so people can come in and watch what's going on in real time. And as Ellen and Rick said, it's a web-based thing, and so you can access it from anywhere.
Any other questions? With that, I'll entertain a motion for me to be authorized to sign the contract.
So be it.
Great.
All in favor? Aye. All right, unanimous.
And just to put it on the record for you guys, the library trustees did have a meeting, and they voted also unanimously to forward it to the selectmen, so that board has signed off on it as well.
And the other thing is they do need a third down to get started, so I don't know how that process works as far as somebody,
You want some cash?
You guys have the money.
right, whoever's got the money needs to, I don't know if there's a requisition you have to put in.
I think it has to be a purchase order.
Well, we'll give Cindy the contract, and when Cindy sees the contract and the steps involved, if she needs any further paperwork from us, we'll get it to her.
Yeah.
I'll talk to her about that tomorrow. But sometimes if there's a contract, she just uses the contract as a payment base. But if anything else is required, we'll make sure she gets it.
And just one other thing, well, it's a little off subject, but because it has to do with elections and stuff, there's a candidates night Wednesday night, and we need some 3x5 cards to write questions on, and maybe the selectmen or somebody, I don't know, Susan, maybe we could have like, because we usually, I talked with Ellie today, and Ellen's not going to be there to help.
I didn't know anyone wanted me to.
Well, you know, as moderator in training, I don't know. But, questions, so I don't know. I know it's a little out of sync here, but I just wanted to.
We had a quick discussion about that because Susan wasn't sure. There was a citizen that actually sent in some questions.
So do I just give those to, this person can't be here, but she wanted a series of questions for school board members to be posed. If other people are bringing, filling out cards, would you take those and include them?
What's happened in the past, Ellie and I talked this afternoon, and she usually takes while people are making an opening statement, she'll take the questions and kind of go through them so they're not
Duplicates.
and ridiculous.
Yeah.
Slanderous.
You know, so I, maybe paraphrase it if it was, 2 or 3 questions asking the same thing or something. And so it'd be like a couple of minute opening and maybe a, question and answer thing and a closing of a minute or something like that. And that would just be for the contested ones. The people that have no contest, maybe they can say a few words again to try to keep it simple.
Is anyone from the board going to? I can, I'm working.
Planning on going.
You are? Okay, so.
I'm bringing the donuts
There you go.
and the cook.
So the selectmen are going to be here. They'll be able to have some 3x5 cards to accept questions from the audience.
Right. The people I think know at this point that's they've been doing the past few
Yeah.
years. So hopefully, I realize.
We need to have someone time them.
Yeah, it would be nice to have somebody that could act like timing
Be your staff, Rich and I.
Okay, so they just don't go on, people don't go on and on and on.
And I remember last year, you were the timer,
I was.
just time.
You put-
And you-
Flare gun, that would be interesting.
Publicly lets them know they're out of time, so it shuts them off pretty quick.
Yeah, it helps. Not with Don. He just kept going.
He went on talking, yeah.
But there aren't that many contested positions, so it shouldn't be too long.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm sorry to bring that out of order. I didn't know if Ellen was not going to be there or whatever, but.
Yeah, no, I have a class.
Okay.
You might as well stay there, you're next on the agenda.
What, pardon?
You might as well stay there, you're next on the agenda.
Okay.
Candidates night, and I don't know if you've done this intentionally or whether it's an error. I happen to know the guy who does your video recording, and as far as he knows, he's not taping it or recording it or showing it live. Nobody's asked him to come.
Can he come?
I don't know, he's in the booth.
On Wednesday?
Sorry about that, I dropped that ball.
Because it has been mentioned on Facebook, it'll be televised.
Okay, very good. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Helen. Next on the agenda, Senator Rick Russman for expansion of town forest.
Right, and I'd asked to go into non-public session. These two could stay because they're aware of the that's going to be donating it, and they would prefer not to have their name public at this time, if that's possible.
I guess we don't really have anyone else here. Rich is the only one. I'd rather not, if we could wait to the end of the meeting, if we can get through the meeting and then we'll go non-public, well,
Rich has us going on a walking tour.
Yeah,
we could do that quick.
Okay.
While the cameras are rolling, then stop the cameras to
And
stop.
it doesn't matter to me if Rich is here, and Ellen's aware too, so, yeah, you know, so whatever you want to do is fine.
Everyone can have a seat. Now, just go through. See? Any new business? Committee liaison reports.
We had an inspectors meeting, and we're still trying to finalize the fee schedules. I guess the inspectors, before they put a whole ton of effort into this, they wanted to know that the board was behind these efforts.
of changing fees?
Well, specifically, as we're diving into this more, what's becoming apparent is the electrical and plumbing inspectors, since they're not full-time, or they're basically compensated by calls.
Yeah.
They get an inspection fee. But what's becoming, as we're trying to get this wrangled, they're having to review permits or review applications before the permit is issued. Because what's happening is people are sending in incomplete permits or incomplete applications, and there are questions that remain for Tory to complete the permit. And so what that entails is a lot of times just a phone call, but sometimes, you know, they will have to come in and review what the person's actually doing, or call them and just be like, all right, you said this, what actually are you doing here? And I don't see that as something that's gonna be a budgetary constraint. That's gonna be something that is self-funding based on and I explained to the inspectors that the board supporting the warrant article reverting fees back to the select board so that we have the authority to change those things is a sign of the buy-in of the board. But I just wanted to make this board aware that may be which way it goes, you know, just so that because there are so many, it's not like you're either put an oil burner in or a gas burner in. Now there's 18 different types of heating systems and all these things, so it's not something that a permit clerk can just look at and say, yeah, you're all set. It's gonna require these guys doing some more time on the applications themselves.
We probably need to look at, I thought they were getting so many hours and then they're, you know, but that's just Robert and.
Correct, and that is, I think, another problem, because right now they are answering calls, they're taking calls, they're spending their own time when they're running their own businesses and doing this work, so I also want to see those people being compensated for their efforts.
I think we're gonna have to look at that because we have several very large projects that look like they're probably gonna come to town, and if they do, they're gonna spend a lot more time than just inspections.
Exactly, and then one of those came up, and I don't think it's, you know, we're very fortunate that the people we do have are very competent and highly skilled and are able to handle those things, but yeah, you can't expect someone to be looking at a massive project and, oh yeah, it's $50 for your time to come in
And like you say, it's not an expense because we cover it in a permit fee.
Exactly, and that is one of the primary goals of this reshuffling or going over the fees, but I just want to make this board aware and just make sure that, nothing's been decided yet, none of that, but that's kind of the framework that we're operating under moving forward.
Selectman Briggs, you have anything to add? I would just say that I think it's unanimous, the board does support the inspectors. At this point, though, we are putting it before the voters to change the ordinance. With the will of the voters, which we hope, it was unanimous that we encourage them to allow us to be able to change the fees as needed. And so that would require the passing of, I forget what, does anyone know what article number that is? No, it's not 7, 8, or 9, so 5 or 6.
could look it up if you want me to.
Yeah, I would just ask the people to support the ordinance to change from being an ordinance to allow the selectmen the purview to change the fees.
And really this, just for the public, it's not really home things, it's more as businesses have different systems and things like that. It's more to capture that kind of stuff. It's not, you're putting a generator in at your house or pool or something. It's really not gonna apply to that kind of thing. It's just these larger projects where we need to get some parity with other towns.
Anything else besides the inspectors?
Just what we discussed earlier, some people in the audience are privy to this. Mr. Wilson will be taking my spot on the planning board for the upcoming meeting and handling that moving forward.
For the next season, after the election.
And I believe there was an issue with the turbocharger in one of the town vehicles.
Fixed, done in-house.
Okay, were we able to fix it in-house or no? We were? Thank you to our diesel mechanic.
One thing before you leave, the liaison committee, the Heritage Group and the Historical Group are gonna have a joint meeting March, right? Isn't that what was decided?
I think that's what they were.
March, to talk about the next year of projects and combining in some stuff and stuff like the cemetery and things we've talked about, but working as more of a joint issue. Or joint group to get them together.
Anything else?
No.
Chief Briggs? I don't have anything. Fire department did hire, they're at full staff now, and next week, I believe, the 2 new hires will come before the select board to introduce themselves.
I would like to make a motion to reappoint Ellen Faulkner to the RPC Technical Advisory Committee.
Actually, we were gonna switch that. I had a quick conversation with the chairman of the planning board, Glenn Koppelman, and Ellen, the problem is she's not able to go to those meetings because it's during her work hours, and rather than disrupt the planning board scheduled hours, he put forward a name, Peter Coffin would be interested in sitting on that panel.
I withdraw my motion and submit a new motion for Peter Coffin to serve as the RPC Technical.
After Kevin talked to me today, Kevin asked me if I thought of anyone who might be a good candidate for it, and at the time I didn't, but after we talked, I thought about it, and it's the kind of a spot that you don't want to just put anybody into, because if they don't understand how the Planning Commission works and what the transportation issues are that are dealt with by this committee, putting somebody on it is not going to be that valuable to the town. And so as I thought about it, I thought that perhaps Peter Coffin, who is aside from me, is the other representative to the commission from Kingston, and I thought maybe he'd be interested. So I called him, talked with him, and he said he might be, but he needed to check schedules, when they meet, what his schedule is, and so forth. So he suggested that perhaps the selectmen have a conversation with him and see if it's a good fit.
Maybe he can come in before the select board next week, if he's available.
You could
Say at 6:45?
Does it have to be known?
Actually, it doesn't have to be non-public. It could be public, if he can come before the select board, yeah. Yep,
Yeah, you probably want that to be non-public.
yeah, 7 o'clock or so, if he could.
Let's get our hand up.
I just wanted to add that in the past, I get all the mail, so the most I get to do is I look and see what's on the agenda. Glenn has been very good. If there was anything specific coming up for Kingston or that might impact Kingston, I would contact Glenn and he would take my place and go as the backup. But Kingston really, it's better if Kingston actually has a voice at the table all the time. So I do encourage you to get somebody who can be there. I just wanted to put that on the record that I think it's good that you pick somebody else who can go.
Well, I saw the note this morning when I came in, and I immediately called Glenn to see if there is someone interested, because it's pointless to have have someone on the committee that can't make it.
It is, because the most I can do is
We had
read
a
the
nice
mail.
conversation,
Yeah.
and he was gonna, and then just half hour, an hour ago, he sent me a text that said, hey, I have someone in mind.
Right.
No, Peter's
Len's
been a
on-
rep for how many years now?
I've been the rep for a long time.
Since I left, so 4 years.
I don't know, I've been on the 125 committee
4 or 5,
since I was a selectman. way back.
So what I would suggest is let Peter, you can have another conversation with Peter Coffin, and if he is interested, he can let Susan know and come before the board next week at 7 o'clock, and we can make that appointment. If he's not interested, we could see if anyone else is interested.
Sounds good.
Is that okay?
Yeah, no, I missed out on that.
Any fire department, that was all I had. Any more public comment? Correspondence, we have 3 credits for veterans credits. And all the necessary paperwork is here.
There was one additional application for an elderly exemption, but he does not meet the income limits. I put it in there for you to look at.
Okay. Which one was, let me see. Okay, I share it there. Alright, and then this one, I guess, so what do we typically do? Do we notify them?
Yeah, I'll send him a letter, but just so you're aware, he can do 5.
Okay.
Not just me saying, just didn't meet the limits.
That, I'll entertain a motion to authorize, well, for the town of Kingston to enter in the hazardous waste collection date of October 24th, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
That's that. That's tabled till next week. And seeing there is, the planning board's here, we do have in front of us to release funds to All-American Assisted Living on the bond. We're gonna retain roughly just under 7,000 of the bond, but we're gonna return all of it.
They make a recommendation.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure about the communication system that they put in before we return it. I don't know if Graham has gone in. I need to go in and check that. I've been told that it's up and operating now, but I need to run some tests on it.
Absolutely.
I guess what's the question on the communication as far as
So, they,
fire alarm system?
no, they were requested to put a repeater system in there. Rich, have you tested that out with fire at all?
Honestly, no.
Okay. So I want to make sure that we want to make sure that system works within the building adequately, because that was part of one of the conditions that Bill and I worked with them on, that they have that system up and running. They haven't called me yet, so I think maybe Graham might have tested, but I'm not sure.
All right.
Which bond are they looking to release?
It's written, this is not a planning board escrow.
Ah, okay, thank you. That
We
clarifies.
tried to give it to you and it got thrown back at us.
That clarifies it.
Okay, so what I guess is, let's table this till next week. I'll contact Ray and see him on the liaison to the fire department and see if does anyone else know of any other issues over there?
I'll go through on the fire. Please send it to me.
Yeah, I checked with all the inspectors and nobody had any outstanding issues, but I don't think fire was there yet when I asked, so.
We also want to make sure that Cindy may have set it up into multiple levels, because there are some testing that's supposed to happen over the year for the, from Dana Truslow. She's done some, but I think there's 1 or 2 left. So you want to make sure you have money in one of the accounts to be able to pay her. And again, Cindy may have set up so there may be multiple, and this may not be part of it, but you'd want to check that before you release
Wouldn't that
it.
be part of the planning board?
No, it has to do with a system they've already installed, and it's part of their continuation to make sure it's working properly. So I'm just saying, I think there might be a separate one, but I'm not sure, so you just want to check that with Cindy before you release it. We just got the report from Dana that talks about the next couple of things, so that's all, you just want to double check.
Susan, are you familiar with what she's talking about?
Yeah.
So if you can find out and bring that for us next week, make sure before we sign off that we do contact everyone, that there is no issues before we do the return on that.
And the feather banners.
What?
They have feather banners now.
Oh, it's open house. All right, let's see, what's that?
Phil, was there anything further on the well that we need to do?
On the what?
With that well purchase?
Oh, the second well that they needed, as far as I know, they had paid all that.
I thought that was all taken care of.
Yeah, I think that's been good for a while, but yeah, good point. That'll be a non-public issue,
Sumner?
the second one down, or the third one down, I'm sorry. No. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. If, I'll take a motion to approve both public and non-public minutes of February 10th.
So moved.
Second. Any corrections? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, minutes of non-public. Approved, couple correspondence things in here. We did get a letter from, what's it, not Hawks Ridge, Diamond Oaks or whatever, just that releasing, Jim DeFrench does have the authority to expend funds from the original Hawks Ridge
from his-
bond.
Yeah.
There was a letter from Rockingham County. We were looking to do a supplemental appropriation, which requires us to notify all the towns that we're gonna do it. We've since changed this letter. It has no bearing because we're gonna find the money in the budget currently, so it has no effect to the towns or municipalities for their tax rate. We did approve a change of use and charge someone extra money in their taxes. That person came forward to the assessor, and it turned out that was a mistake. It is wetlands, so that what we did sign a couple of months ago,
It never happened.
it didn't happen, so this is gonna get torn up. If you wanna take a look, that's been rescinded. And then John's Truck and Auto just notifying us that they're doing their regular applications with DES for their permits. It's nothing that requires any of us. And Town of Salem sent us a butters notice for a cell tower that they're looking to put in. I don't understand how we're within radius of the Town of Salem.
Yeah, because it's a wireless, a communications tower or whatever, so everyone knows they don't put up one that's within the same range. I think that's why it's not normal butters.
I wonder what they'd do if we objected.
Okay.
Gives you a chance to find out.
The only other thing I'd say, we could do it after, but I have all the town employees' evaluations that will need to get distributed to the different departments, so we can distribute that after. I'd like to remind everyone that the candidates night is this coming Wednesday, starting at 7 o'clock. If anyone, Rick Russman has agreed to moderate the candidates night. I thank you for doing that. We will have, people will be able to come in and write down a 3x5 card, any questions that could be asked. It will be televised and played over the course of the next couple of weeks before the election. With that, does anyone else have anything? I know we're meeting with Rich in public downstairs, just looking at reconfiguring the office space. Other than that, we have one non-public with Rick Russman in regards to a possible donation of land for a town forest. We have we have one non-public for legal and one for personnel. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Does anyone else have anything? I thank everyone for joining us this evening. Again, Candidates Night, Wednesday, 7 o'clock at this location. We will see you next week. Have a good evening. Thank you.